Hi everybody, Mark Cleghorn here for the Photographer Academy, and you're joining me in the studio following a quick live session that we were doing with Kelsey, our model for the day. You're familiar with her on the Photographer Academy anyway. And we were looking at taking kind of an iconic image of the likes of Marilyn Monroe with the white ballet skirt and so on. Basically how you would actually put your spin and how you fit it into the character that you've got. So the first thing to acknowledge is that not every photograph that you see through history will work with every single client you put in front of you, because they all have their own little characters, and so do you. You also have your skill sets. We might be working with more modern technology, obviously, than an image that we saw. But when you start to actually identify images that you really love through time, you shouldn't be afraid to at least kind of start to have a go at them and have a bit of fun with them. Recently, I saw a whole load of images just online of people kind of dressing themselves silly to recreate their favorite album covers and things, really. So in the same way as photographers, we take moments in time, or moments through film, or moments through fashion, whatever you find your inspiration from, and you kind of then go, I really like that idea, and someday I want to have a go at that. So when you start to actually do it, break it all down. So you're going to start to see the session to begin with, where we're just putting Kelsey onto the ledge of my studio window here. This is, I work from a converted church that I did about 6 years ago. And we've got these fantastic windows, and we hide them away the majority of the time because it's natural light. Never forget my saying though, natural light before reflector, reflection before flash, flash is the last resort, okay, so don't forget that. However, I'm mainly using strobe or flash for most of my shoots. So anyway, we've got it just on the windowsill, and besides for the floor, the whole tonality of the image is light and bright and kind of all in that same color space, color palette as it were. In contrast, the floor is the only thing that really kind of darkens the whole thing. But if we allow some light get into it, you're going to see kind of during the course of the session where we kind of begin. Let me just start off. Let's go back to the beginning. So where we're on the kind of the windowsill, you're going to see the difference between only using strobe, i.e. the studio flash, and then actually slowing the shutter speed down to actually bring more of the ambient light through the window. Now, as I love natural light anyway, you shouldn't be afraid to actually try and do that under normal kind of conditions. And what I've done here to begin with, as I said, I was using the light coming in from behind. So that means I've got to either open the aperture, slow the shutter speed, or increase the ISO, or a combination of that triangle. Remember, perfect exposure is a part of the three and the triangle being kind of together, as it were. So in other words, strobe is pretty much when you set it to a power and you know what that is and it relates to the aperture and the ISO that you're in. Only shutter speed then will have an effect really in the exposure. Once I start slowing the exposure down, in some locations, the natural ambient light in the scene will actually overtake the strobe that I'm using. So there's a balance point of where the natural light in the environment will outpower the actual strobe that you're using. So remember, we're controlling strobe through ISO and basically the aperture. And then obviously the natural ambient light is a combination of all three. So I'm kind of shooting 125th when it's just flash. And then I'm shooting down to about a 20th of a second or slower when I'm actually using some of the ambient light from behind. I think you'll enjoy it. You'll see here how we move from the kind of the lighting going on to her, and then I move her away, and I just pop her onto a little stool, and we kind of close the drapes in the background. We're using the secondary flash now, the one actually up in the sky, to create a little bit more of the separation light again, just to go from there. And then we work through and we kind of quickly then put it back into the window position to actually change the look and the feel. So color, dynamic, color palette, and obviously contrast palette is really down to you what works well and so on. As far as the lights are concerned, you're going to see a combination of us using on the main key, the key light. It's going to be first of all, just some soft light. Then we've introduced the cap, which is a diffusion cap with it. Then we actually put some material over the top to soften the light down even more. And then we just actually popped on the honeycomb to give a smaller pool of soft light. Remember, by design, the last exit of the light, if you're using honeycomb or egg crates, all the softness has got to be done behind. That includes any gels that you use. Okay, as soon as you put it on the front, you actually lose the effect of the honeycomb. So remember that. And then as far as this light is concerned, it's being controlled minimum down in power to obviously meet my aperture and so on, but I am being controlled by setting a 400 ISO because I want to use some of the ambient light coming through the background, so don't forget that. Then we've got a light up in the sky, and you're going to see at the beginning of the shoot we're using it with raw flash, allowing it to creep and explode everywhere around the studio. And then in the second part of the shoot we just put a small little reflector grid on it. Don't get confused between a reflector panel, so that would be something that either reflects light like white or silver, either a polystyrene or kind of a manufactured ones that will fold away. Or we can basically be using the likes of the control of the light like barn doors, honeycombs and so on. Whatever accessories you start to buy, we haven't used this today, but whatever accessories you start to buy, think about how they work together. So in other words, the light, that reflector dish that we've got up there, which is controlling the spill, also fits my barn doors, so that could actually be controlled even more finite by just closing in the doors itself. Look, it's enough from me. I think it's a nice little session. There's some nice little images there, achievable by anybody. Get out your flashes, get out your partner or even yourself and kind of get in to do some photographs. Enjoy it. Take care. Just going to bring the studio stand closer anyway, because I can't hold a shutter speed longer than 125th now because of age, shakes, unfit and fat, as my wife would say. Let's quick test again. Let's come back. So this is the first shot. First thing is ISO 400. If we switch off the flash, and basically we said it was going to be f4 and the 125th. Need to make sure I don't lose out on the feet there. So this is the kind of the light coming through at the beginning. Let me change it into color. Let's do the same shot. Slightly back, slightly down. Want to shoot up on her. So we're there, and as you can see, there's technically no light going onto her at all, but that is our natural light kind of image. I might get some more netting in a minute. Do you know what, let's lose the shoes. Kick them off, put them over to the side, wherever you want, right away if you can. And then when you're in position again, really legs apart, I think. Kind of pushing through, real Marilyn. Let's get that light onto the face just a touch. Let's do that. It's a quick test. So now we're sticking on the light. We're into group 3. So this is the flash. Yeah, so obviously we're at 4 there. We need 5.6 is what we metered it at. Let's do it again. We can soften this down, in fact. I don't think it needs to be the harsh light. So let me just grab some diffusion material. Okay, so I'm looking for a much softer light source. I haven't actually tried to shoot with the honeycomb and a kind of diffusion before. I wonder if I can. Looks like I can. No, I can't. Let's just see what that's going to be like first. Let's do the same shot. Remember, this is just the flash we're working on for now. Kels, ready? So it's going to obviously kind of fire it out a little bit brighter. That's better. So it's softer, it's more diffused than anything else, but I think I'm going to just wrap a little bit more diffusion over it to make it very, very soft. Let's just measure that on the end for a minute. Usually clipping that on. Let's do the same thing. So yeah, it's beginning to work. Got a clip there for me. So accessories are there to be played around with. Let's not forget that. Just really want to pull that tighter together. Obviously, if that was raw flash, I wouldn't want it touching the bulb. Let's do the same thing. I think this is going to allow me to open up the aperture just a little bit. So from the 5.6 now, I can pretty much go to 4.5. and we're getting a working exposure. Yeah, great, but it looks like flash, agreed? So that is where we decide on, do we actually add more diffusion in or whatever it is. The only way for me to reduce this power on her down more is going to be by pulling this back. But let's see first of all how the ambient light and everything else together. So if I kind of dial down the shutter speed, let's go to an eighth, nice and still, Kels. So that's running at an eighth of a second. And we start to see how it kind of really kind of coming back towards us more. Let's bring it up in power. As far as shutter speed is concerned. That's great. So I'm getting this lovely kind of light and bright and everything else. Remember, that is just this frontal light. As soon as I start to bring in the other light in, it's going to start to kind of overpower it, bring more specularity and everything else. But it's not too bad, in fact, really, if we just have a quick look at the difference in those two images. So image on the top is just using the two flashes, and you can start to see it kind of lights all the face and legs and everything else, whereas the one above is just the ambient light source. For me, there's just too much light going on in here, so I need to either flag it off a little bit or take it up higher. Because this is a big diffusion light, I can just take this up higher anyway, or tilt it, or a bit of both, and that should have a dramatic change anyway. So let's have a look what it's like 125th of a second first. We'll just go back to group 3, which is the key light. So we can see it's not quite exposed enough, yeah? And then let's see what group 1 is doing. That's the overhead light. That's going to add into the mix of the image. But you can see there's only a little bit of light coming onto her. If I'm shooting all of them together at the 125th, it's definitely better now, because we're not having as much light, but I've got to make sure I'm dropping Kelsey's nose down to kind of just avoid from that kind of light catching on the top of the nose and things really. Kelsey, if you turn your body that way for me, just a little bit, just a touch, and lean the head over towards here more, turn the nose around towards here, that's gorgeous, that's a quick test. And do the other way around, point towards that way more, and do the same thing again. Okay, no, come back to me square on, so it's going to be better. I need you, when we get going, I need to have a little bit more fun, big kind of excitement, Marilyn Monroe effort and everything else with it and things really, okay? So let's just have a little look. So there's our kind of two lights that are doing the job. I want to kind of see what the shutter speed, opening up that light coming in from behind will do. It definitely gives us a brighter light. Let's go back to just that one frontal light source, and again with a slower shutter speed, see what it's like. So we're kind of balancing all things together. That's really what we're doing. And I think we're almost there. I think if we come to the 15th, I think that's pretty good. I definitely probably want to come back to that honeycomb on the face more for a few of the shots anyway. Okay, but this is giving me a little bit more kind of latitude. So it's just one light source. That's what that's doing. One light source, which is the frontal light here. Ambient light coming through. I definitely feel that I need to be a vertical image. So I'm just going to turn my studio stand around. And then I'm just going to turn it to the vertical. Let's have a look, Kels. Brandon, can you get me some white netting, please? Kels, I'm going to get you to get some of the net in and actually put it behind you along the shelf and just allow it to spill onto the floor a little bit. Is that okay? Okay, same thing again. So really push down between the legs. So let the legs open up more and just come in. That's gorgeous there. Keep it. Quick test. Yeah, soften, that's great. Okay, let's do it. Happier, faking it. It's gorgeous. Looking down, cheeky. I've made you embarrassed again. There's still no ring on your finger, which I'm very disappointed in him telling. Looking down towards the floor again, it's gorgeous. Let me just change that light position so it's not as frontal as it is, because it just feels a bit flat and, instead of kind of directional, and give me a little bit more kind of character. I'm going to kind of bring the black curtains in a minute and get us sat down on something else that kind of mimics the kind of the classic. Let me have a quick look. Okay, let's do it again. Okay, looking down, nice and still, Kels, because I've got really low, slow shutter speed. And again, just the eyes at me. Keep the head there. Cheekier, bigger smile. Excellent. And again, keep it. Once more. Really push down through the legs. More. That's lowest there. Looking down towards the floor. Cheeky again. More. Turn the head out to the side more. Excellent. Kind of almost like embarrassment now kind of thing. You've got to be a little bit of an actress. I know you are. Okay, so let's go for it. 1, 2, 3, go. Kind of embarrassed, kind of almost kind of hide your face with your hair, kind of pull it over you fully and things. I don't mind if you're going to be blurred a little bit. Go. Really hide your face. Go. Come on, you can do it. It's gorgeous. Relax. That's cool. Okay, that's a start. It's nice, a little bit blurred there. Let me just do a few more with the shutter speed on, switch both lights on. It'd be stupid to put those lights in place and not do a few. And again at me, Kelsey at me, happier. And again, darling, fake it more. It's gorgeous there, relax. Right, let's just, if you come off set for me a minute, please, Kelsey.